Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Matrix Resurrections, starring Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jonathan Groff, Jessica Henwick, Neil Patrick Harris, Jada Pickett Smith, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, and Christina Ricci, directed by Lana Wachowski. Now, is there a reason why this sequel exists? I'm honestly not sure. Let's get into it. Within an isolated node of the Matrix, Bugs, the captain of the Menmosini, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and played by Jessica Henwick, encounters a program running the old code involving Trinity's discovery, and Trinity, returned by Aunt Carrie Ann Moss and Neo's location before the agents of the Matrix find her. And why are we going back to the events of the first Matrix drove me a bit nuts. Bugs finds out the agent's behaving strangely and discovers he is actually the embodiment of Morpheus, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and helps free him from the node before it is erased. And why is it not Lawrence Fishburne? They'll explain it later, but this guy, I've reviewed him in Aquaman, and he was in the last year remake of Candyman, which I thought was entertaining. And he's going to be in Michael fucking Bay's upcoming film Ambulance, which I'm not planning on seeing. But honestly, he's done much worse than Lawrence Fishburne has done in the bad films, as he's not good in the original Lawrence Fishburne. Thomas Anderson, returned by Keanu Reeves, is a successful game developer, having created a trilogy of games based on his dreams of the Matrix, with the aid of his business partner Smith, played by Jonathan Groff, whom I first became aware of voicing Kristoff from the Frozen films, and was in the Disney play of Hamilton. And honestly, he's not very good in this role. I don't know why he's here in this at all. And the only good presence in this movie is not Carrie-Anne Moss, as she looked like she didn't want to be there, but Keanu Reeves is, in my opinion, better off making more John Wick movies than making any more of whatever the fuck this is. He frequents a nearby coffee shop where he continues to encounter Tiffany, a married mother that reminds him of his dreams of Trinity, who's also played by Carrie-Anne Moss. He had trouble separating dreams from reality, but his therapist, played by Neil Patrick Harris, consults him and provides him blue pills and helps keep his sanity, though he later refuses to take it, as this movie goes absolutely nowhere, which disappointed me, because the previous movies knew where they were going. Even that god-awful third film. He notices an intruder in one of his private instances of the game, but later finds that the instance has been delayed by Smith. And I thought, does this sound familiar? Outside the Matrix, Bugs and Morpheus discover Neo's signal within the Matrix, despite the belief he had died. And how did he and Trinity come back to begin with? Hopefully it'll be explained later in the film. If not, I'm going to be pissed. They connect Neo to Anderson and realize he has been unconsciously running the node of allowing Morpheus to be found, which was terrible as this whole movie is lazily written. Bugs and her allies enter the Matrix to help locate Neo's body in the real world and discover that Smith is Agent Smith, which wasn't that so goddamn obvious? And these characters, I believe, are very stupid, particularly since they can't figure out Smith is the Agent Smith to begin with, is just terrible. Having been keeping close watch over Anderson's activities, Bugs helps Anderson to elude Smith and his new ability to take over control over numerous individuals within the Matrix as a swarm. Bugs and Morpheus explain to Anderson what the Matrix is, which was the fun question in the first one, but can't be fucked with, which is what they're doing to this to begin with. And with this perception of reality already waning, or wanting, or whatever the fuck that word is, Anderson agrees to be extracted, and this is a very problematic script, as it makes no sense whatsoever. Neo wakes up in a pod, finding that a nearby pod contains Trinity, which was way too convenient, but machines and entities, whatever the fuck that word is, loyal to Bugs, recover him before he can free her, which is so badly written. And this, okay, come on. That's not the way they're going to be resurrected, for fuck's sakes. Neo is taken to Bugs' ship and to the new human sanctuary of Io, where he is reintroduced to an elderly Niobe with very bad makeup, played by returned by Jada Pickett Smith, as she looks and sounds bad. Like, has she been smoking? Because it sure as hell sounds like it for the character. Niobe explains 60 years has passed on the real world since the end of the machine war, and the human survivors have allied with the machines to keep the system working against the anomaly within it. As I'm having a headache trying to explain this movie, as I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Naomi takes Neo to meet Sati, who was in the third film as a kid, but now as an adult, played by Priyanka Chopra Jonas as an adult. An exile program he had previously met explains that the anomaly, who was created right after the machine war, and had somehow resurrected Neo and Trinity and kept them isolated from others, which is a very stupid reason right off the bat. And why the fuck should I care about all this at all? Though Neo wants to rescue Trinity, Sati warns that there could be consequences of this, which will lead to a predictable plot. Niobe orders Neo to remain outside the Matrix, but Bugs and others agree to defy her orders to try to help free Trinity. And how the fuck am I seeing this happen is driving me crazy. Coordinating activities in and outside the Matrix, Neo and Bugs enter the Matrix, but are met by Smith and other exile programs would want to see the Matrix return to its former self. And when I saw one of them, who happens to be the Frenchman from the second and third film, I was thinking like Neo was, as in saying, oh God, this guy fucking really? While Bugs and her crew fight the exiles, Neo faces H against Smith, slowly recalling his previous abilities to bend the rules of reality within the Matrix, which is as bad as this movie can get by making a fourth film in the fucking first place. With Smith defeated, they take Neo to Tiffany's repair shop, but before Neo can talk to her, his therapist appears to slow down time, and I swear to God I thought my TV was broken because I was watching this on HBO Max and thought the app was broken, but that scene drove me absolutely fucking nuts. The therapist reveals himself to be the Analyst, a program that studies the human physique, but has since grown more powerful, which doesn't make sense, and I guess here comes the way we end up having this terrible film. He saw Neo and Trinity die at the end of the machine war, but created the resurrection pods as to study them more, and I know it's dense, but it's going to get more denser as far as I'm concerned. Over countless iterations, he found that individually, that the two were not special, but when they worked as one, they had overpowered the system, which is a stupid reason to make a fourth film to begin with. Thus, the Analyst has been controlling the latest iteration of the Matrix as to keep the two near each other by preventing them from becoming close. And how bad and silly is this movie? I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know if I can take any more of this movie, as this is a 2.5 hour long movie and it's hurting my head, as this has destabilized the anomaly. The machines have prepared to reboot the Matrix again, but the Analyst has placed that on hold, which is a bad idea on his part. He threatens to kill Trinity if Neo doesn't not return to reinserted in his pod, and head this movie has all kinds of fucking problems as it's confusing, and it feels endless. Neo and Bugs are forced to leave the Matrix when another ship loyal to Niobe brings the Bugs and the rest of her crew back to Io, and we get a half an hour more movie to go. Neo pleads to Niobe to let him return to try to free Trinity again, and she eventually agrees, which took her long enough within the Matrix. The Analyst invites Neo to a challenge that if Trinity volunteers to go free of the Matrix, Neo can take her, but if she refuses, Neo will permanently run to the Matrix. Neo agrees, and is anyone following this at all? because I can't, as this movie has such a dense plot. Trinity as Tiffany is brought to them, and by them I'm talking about her family and Neo and the analyst. And when the question is posed to her, her family appears, which is a selfish move on her part. And how in the hell did they know she was here? At all is beyond me because it makes no sense. She initially seems to want to go with him, but soon rejects that reality and recognizes that she is Trinity, which I guess was earned but not earned very well in my opinion. The analyst prepared to kill them before Smith interferes, temporarily stopping the analyst and giving time for Neo, Trinity, and the others to escape, and here comes that more headache nonsense. Neo and Trinity race ahead to give Bugs and the others time to extract themselves, but the analyst turns a swarm of controlled humans against them by making them jump like zombies in World War Z, for example. The pair race into a skyscraper, and with nowhere else to go, they too jump, and Neo expected to be able to fly them away, which isn't the case. Instead, Trinity has come to learn to fly, and the two escape and regain control of the Matrix, as I was done with the movie at this point. In the aftermath, Neo and Trinity return to face the analyst, assuring him that he will face dire consequences should he try to seize control of the Matrix again. Neo and Trinity both fly away and to redesign the Matrix, and I was glad the movie was done, but not quite yet, as after the credits, the company Neo worked for is looking for the future as they bring up cat videos, and I thought, that was fucking pointless. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.4 out of 10. Now, I thought Revolutions was the worst, but nope, it goes to this movie, as it's truly bad and lazily written, as I was checked out by the 2-hour mark, and I thought, oh Jesus, more bullet time nonsense? The acting was so painful as the replacements of Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving were not any better than their predecessors, and I hated being with them at this time. This movie gave me quite the headache as the plot was very dense, and it took 2.5 hours of this whole movie is bullshit. And the more I think about it, the less I like this movie. I tried really hard to like it. And after the credits scene was fucking pointless to fast forward through the credits for on HBO Max. So yeah, please don't see this. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for the Matrix series. And until then, whoa.